going live. I've got some tofu that I need to get out of the oven, and I'm going to talk to you while I'm doing that, right? So you're going to flip this over so that it burns evenly. So, get my salad here. Ouch, that is freaking hot. Guys, that's why we got a couple of towels. I'm going to try to use a fork and remove these around a little bit. I just have some tofu here that I've cut into squares. I've just kind of coated them. Woo! Oh, I'm going to turn that. Hey. So, because I have two things going on StreamYard, a lot of times it screams at us. I'm going to just try to flip all these things real quick, throw them back in the oven. We're going to make us a salad. It is an Asian-inspired salad. So this tofu, I've kind of thrown mainly Asian spices. So to me, Asian spices are kind of like 5 spice. I can't even tell you what is 5 spice. But what I've put on it is a little bit of white pepper, a little bit of ground mustard. This is not really an Asian spice, but I love turmeric, and it's good for you. More of an Indian flavor. And this I don't think is Asian at all. Cumin. I love cumin. Cumin is good for you. I think I've talked a little bit about in the past. Aspirin is based off of acetylsalic acid, which they derived from willow bark. There's a lot of acetylsalic acid in cumin. It can help you if you are one of these people that maybe has heart disease, right? So I am never a proponent of going against your doctor's wishes, but you can also be informed that a lot of times the medication that is in the big pharma is derived from one specific chemical compound that is in. Well, I'm going to go ahead and put the timer on here so that I don't forget to do this. And I'm going to set it for 10 minutes. Even though we did this for 15 minutes already on one side. I've got the oven at, I got 14 minutes. We're going to just go 14 minutes. And hopefully these kind of bake, get some of the moisture out of my tofu, right? So we're making a salad. We're making an Asian-inspired salad. I'm going to read you the, we're going to stop this for a second. Wait 1 second. All right, let's try it again here. I'm going to try to be as far as I can because I think when I talk loud, it causes that feedback loop with StreamYard. So this is from Eating Well. Maybe that helps a little bit. Maybe the further I can get one from the other, that helps. 4 cups of mesclun. So mesclun is kind of like a French combination of different kinds of lettuce leaves. I'll read you about that here in a minute too. A 1/4 cup shredded red cabbage, 3 ounces baked tofu cubes. We're baking the tofu. I've already cut it. I would go over that, but then our show is going to be more than 20 minutes. Break. All right. We get that feedback loop. Sorry. We're going to make some edamame. It says a 1/4 cup edamame, a 1/2 cup grated carrots, 3 ounces baked tofu cubes, 1/4 cup Mandarin oranges. I was going to get Mandarin oranges, but I forgot. So I just have a regular orange here that I've already peeled and pulled the sections apart. I've got 1 tablespoon golden raisins, a 1/4 cup bamboo shoots. So basically, I'm going to just put this in a bowl for myself. So we're just going to kind of incorporate that. 2 tablespoons chow mein noodles, straight out of the. The only thing I don't like about this is it has some added sugar and salt. Salt is probably the worst thing that you can add to your diet. We as Americans get way too much salt. If you buy shit in a can from the store, too much salt. 2 tablespoons bottled reduced sugar Asian sesame vinaigrette. I'm going to use a combination of Asian-inspired ingredients to make my salad dressing from, right? And it's not going to have oil. I'm not going to add oil to it. But if I were to add oil to Asian dressing, I would use sesame oil. Here's another caveat about salads. Even though I have the mic off on my phone, it's still getting this feedback. I'm going to try to talk a little less loud. God darn it. I'm going to move the prepper camera back further, see if that helps a little bit with this feedback. So I think that the further I get it away. All right, we're going to turn the prepper view off. Basically what we're going to do is, like I always talk about, I like a big fat knife when I cut stuff. I've cut some purple cabbage here. I have some orange that I've already sectioned off. When I did my baked tofu cubes, I cut the tofu. I've already taken it out of the packaging. I like to rinse everything a lot. Also, if I use cans, because in the old days they had BPA, now they don't, but I don't know about what the chemicals of the lining is. I do believe that they are still not the most highest level in what I call my hierarchy of health. Hierarchy of health. The plant is the best choice. The next best choice is frozen vegetables, where they're flash frozen close to where they were picked. Then canned is probably the least preferable. A lot of times they add things to stuff. Sometimes they don't have to give you that information in the ingredients because it's less than a certain percentage, right? Also, the lining inside of cans, in my opinion, is still suspect. Having said that, I'm using some today. You'll find that my ideal is forks over knives. I consider myself vegan. If you were to follow me, do I follow the forks over knives of vegan all the time? No. Will you sometimes catch me buying a Reese's peanut butter cup and eating it? Yes. But when I cook for myself, I do it without oil. I do it without added salt, other than what's in the packaging that I've bought. I do it without any added sugar. The most processed I usually use is like noodles. And even there, I try to get noodles that are made out of weird things, or the less shit they add to it, the more I like it. So that is the purpose of the show. Trying to get you. Maybe I'm just going to cut off my prepper view altogether. Goodbye, prepper view. I kind of like the prepper view, but for today's, because the feedback is so annoying, maybe eventually I'll have somebody that cooks with me. I have had Jane on the show. I invite anybody that cooks and can deal with me and allow me to cook it in a way that I like. More power to them, and I would love to do it. We're basically just going to incorporate some stuff. I'm going to cook the tofu here, the edamame. So what is tofu made out of? Soybeans, or edamame. I think that's the, I don't know if that's the Japanese word for it, but we're going to go over what mesclun is. Mesclun is usually arugula, chervil, oak leaf, and mache. And you can add endive, baby spinach, mustard greens, frisee, masuna, young Swiss chard, radicchio, young red and green lettuce. Well, that's not what I had available. I had spring blend. So that is what we are going to use for the salad. We're going to just start putting some stuff in a bowl. We're going to talk about making a salad. Traditional salad dressings almost always have some oil, but when I'm on the show, I try to cook without oil, right? Do I eat oil every once in a while? Yes. Does my wife cook with oil? Yes. Do I eat her stuff? Yes. It is my belief that the safest diet is a vegan, plant-based diet. Now, a Mediterranean diet is a close second, and I would suggest that some of the longest-lived people in the world eat a Mediterranean diet. Well, what is that? Well, they add a little bit of fish. They usually add a little bit of olive oil, right? So I think that if you add a tiny bit of oil into your diet and a tiny bit of meat, it might be okay, right? So I would suggest that the scientific evidence would suggest that vegan is the safest, but the Mediterranean diet is a very close second. I've got some golden raisins. I'm going to put some of these in there. This recipe called for bamboo shoots. I'm going to put some of that, but I'm also going to put some water chestnuts. I normally like to rinse anything that I get out of a can. So if I have canned beans, if I have canned whatever, I like to rinse all the shit in there out with some regular water. And the reason that I do is because I feel that there are some things that they might be adding that they're not even telling you about. Hey, we're going to put some chow mein noodles. Once again, like I said, it has some added sugar and salt, so it's not my favorite. It'd be best if you cooked your own, but because I like convenience, also a tiny bit of this, and it adds a cool crunch to the salad. We're going to cook the edamame. We're going to do it just like the instructions say. So stovetop in a saucepan, place frozen vegetables into 2 cups of boiling water. So let's get the water boiling. I'm going to turn that up as high as I can. I've got about 6 more minutes. I'm going to take my tofu out, let it cool. Like I said, I try to keep these around 20 minutes. Sue me if I don't. Into 2 cups of boiling water, bring to a second boil, reduce heat, cover, and simmer 3 to 5 minutes or until tender. They suggest you don't eat the pods, right? I'm not sure why. So soy has a bad reputation. It's got maybe some estrogen-like compounds. Once again, when you're inside of a plant, there's a lot of other chemicals, stuff that synergistically make it better. So a whole soybean, I'm going to tell you, is much better than an isolate soybean protein. All these things which can make it a little bit more detrimental. If you're worried about estrogen, find another bean. Don't do the Asian salad. I don't think there's enough estrogen in tofu and or soybean that it's going to make me any more feminine than I already am. I don't think it's detrimental to you. I like to watch a lot of Dr. Michael Greger. I think he does a great job of telling you about the scientific research that's out there. And he's one of the people that I find is a authority. He pays other people to read through studies, and then he goes over the findings of those studies and lets you make the determination for yourself. I would suggest to you that most Americans are a failed experiment in how to conduct your diet. So, having said that, like I said, I am vegan for the most part. Will you ever catch me eating meat in the future? Maybe, but it will be very little. Probably be fish if I do. If I go to another culture, I might eat a little bit of meat. Haven't decided. That is definitely not a boil. Once this gets to a boil, I'm going to throw these all in. I'm going to let it boil again, then bring it down to a simmer, go 3 to 5 minutes. So, I'm going to use a fork. I'm going to pull out some of these. I'm just putting this in a bowl. Once I get done with you guys, I'm going to make salads into individual bowls that I'll eat throughout the week for some of my meals. Where did my fork go? What did you guys do with my fork? My poor fork. I hid it over here. All right, so I'm going to just take out some sliced water chestnuts, which is not in the original recipe, but is definitely an Asian-inspired thing, in my opinion. We're going to put a few of those. Normally, like I said, I like to rinse out things that come out of a can, but for today, I'm not rinsing anything. I'm just throwing a few of these into this bowl. That looks good. With this amount of volume of salad in this bowl. So like I said, especially with salad dressings that do have a certain amount of, these are bamboo shoots. Once again, a very Asian-inspired type of food. I think these are just really just parts of the bamboo that are soaked. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm a liar. I don't know. I'm telling you that from the best of my knowledge. So the salad calls for, I don't remember what the exact amount was for the salad. This is probably if you're making a big salad for a bunch of people. I'm eating it individually. I've already washed my hands. I'm going to throw some carrots in here, shredded carrots, pre-shredded. Could you do that yourself? Absolutely. Would you save some money? Yes. Is it worth it? I don't know. They're not super expensive, already shredded up. I'm going to put some purple. Now, I like to have like a sealable bowl. This time I'm just kind of putting it together. So I'm going to take my hands. And good news, you're not eating this, so you don't have to worry about this. I'm going to just kind of mix these around because I want all these flavors kind of mixed. Also, this is why they make salad spinners, right? 2 reasons they make a salad spinner. It's to dry the water off of the lettuce when you wash it. Because if you have an oil-based vinaigrette, it will stick much better if it's dry. Water and oil, without an emulsifier of some kind, will repel one another. I'm making a oil-free dressing, so it's not as important to have dry lettuce. But if you have an oil-based based lettuce. I am going to use some cumin black bean sauce. Once again, it is processed a little bit. It does have some xanthan gum. It does have some sugar and salt that I normally don't like to add. So I'm going to add a very little of this in here. I'm going to just kind of whisk it together. In this, we're going to be taking these. So I'm going to just throw a little bit of this fermented black bean. Once again, more beans. Beans are the plant-based people's protein, right? So if you're looking for plant-based, look for beans or lentils or peas or hemp, right? So those are some of the best sources of protein for somebody. Tamari is gluten-free. Soy sauce is not gluten-free. I think it's fermented soy, once again, based on the soybean. Bean, that's your protein. There's a little bit of protein in here. All food has some amount of protein. You will see. So I think that beans are a good substitute for meat because their protein is high. There's some people that will argue with me, oh, you gotta have your meat to get your protein or you're not gonna be strong. Well, I'd like to disagree with you. I'm gonna go ahead and pull my tofu out, let it cool a little bit before we put that on the salad. Let's see how much my water is getting close to a boil, but it's not a boil yet. I'm going to throw a few of these. Should be Mandarin orange, not Mandarin orange. Mandarin orange is a little bit smaller, a little bit more orangey. Okay, let's talk a little bit between mirin and rice vinegar. There is a little bit difference. The vinegar is more, the mirin is more like a wine. It is a little bit fermented. We're going to go ahead and turn my oven off. So it's a little more sweet than mirin. I'm going to add a little bit of both in here. What the heck? Pour just a tiny bit in that. Just to give that black bean sauce a little bit of thinness. We're thinning it out, right? So once again, I'm not using oil. I can't remember if anything in here. I don't think anything that I bought has any oil added to it. Once again, like I talk about, the hierarchy of health, the plant by itself is the best way to go. What the heck? Let's put a little Worcestershire sauce. Not really an Asian flavor, but I do like it. It does probably have too much sugar in it. Once again, the more you can get away from some of the processed stuff, the better it is for you, right? So I don't know. This may be enough for this salad right here. I would make a bigger amount. I would love to put, I love glass because it is one of the best storage containers. The only problem is glass breaks. You got little kids like me. Sometimes that is an issue. I might put a little bit of pepper and mustard in here. What the heck? A few like Asian inspired tastes. Asian and mustard are definitely used in cooking. I don't know what fine spice is. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research. The turmeric and cumin I'm probably not going to put in the sauce that I'm making. This dressing. Let's call it a dressing. Salad dressing. That sounds more appropriate. That still seems a little bit thick, which is fine. But I'm going to put a little tiny bit more rice vinegar. Make that just a little bit thinner. That's what we're going to pour over the top. Like I said, I do like to put a salad inside of a bowl that you have a lid, and then you can shake the crap out of it and just coat those leaves. But for this, we're not going to do that. So I think we're close enough to calling that a boil. I'm going to go ahead and dump all my edamame in there. We're going to let that come to a boil again. Then we're going to put the timer on for 3 minutes, see what that's like. We're going to throw some edamame. I'm going to pull the pods out, or the beans out of the pod. I'm going to throw those in there. I'm going to put a little bit of tofu on there. These are still pretty warm, so I'm going to let those cool down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and use the same fork to pull those out, coating them with a little bit of the dressing that we're going to put on. It's not an issue in my opinion, right? So there is a little bit of protein in this. We do have some black bean sauce that we are using for our dressing. There is some edamame, there is some tofu. All of these things are one of the ways that somebody who is vegan will get some protein. And I will argue that it's as good as meat. But there's some people that would disagree with me. Right? So if you're worried about it, add a little bit of meat. I would suggest a Mediterranean or fish meat is better for you than a highly marbleized steak or chicken. But you get to make those determinations. This still has not. What the heck? I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of this sauce on dressing. Sauces, dressings. We're going to put a little bit of this dressing. I'm also going to put some pepper flakes on the salad. I'm going to see if I can kind of incorporate this so the dressing is all over the leaves, right? Look at this big mess I'm making. This is why the subtitle will always be Chaos Kitchen when I'm cooking. There will be at least a moderate, like I said, I love to get, making a mess. Look at that. I'll have to clean that up before the wife gets back. I'm going to go ahead and use my fork. I'm going to kind of incorporate this because it's mainly sticking on the top. And I like to coat stuff as much as I can in my salad before I eat it. I like the dressing incorporated as best I can. This will not look as good as it could if I were a professional photographer trying to entice you into eating this. I probably wouldn't be doing this. I'd probably just leave the salad dressing on top. But for preference of taste, I am going to kind of incorporate that. I probably will put a little bit more stuff before I take a picture on this, just because it will look better, right? And I might pour a little bit more of this. And this is the cool thing about making your own dressing. You can do as much or little as you like. You start learning the flavors that you like mixed together. To me, cooking is an experimentation, learning the flavors that you like. Also, as you start eating more healthy, as you start getting away from salt, salt is one of the worst things, and we add so much of it as Americans. I would suggest that getting away from salt would be very good for you. I'm going to go ahead. I will take a picture of this. I'm going to put it on the Facebook group. You guys have a great day. We'll finish with the edamame. I'm going to take some pictures of this after it's done, before I eat it. I'm also going to make some more salads, just kind of incorporate them in different bowls. And you guys have a great day. Have an amazing Saturday. If anybody has an amazing recipe and would love to cook with me, I would love to cook with you. Bring me your recipe. Let's make it forks over knives, hardcore, or I will make my version of yours. Anyways, you guys have a great day. Talk soon.